from some of our teams that are analyzing the fine print, and one of that is that the budget is proposing a farm cess of 2.5 rupees on petrol and 4 rupees per litre on diesel. So straight away, petrol and diesel for you, me and everyone who has any kind of a vehicle to ride will go up.
This is disastrous.
Disastrous. Why do you call this disastrous, Mr.
We are already overtaxing these two commodities. Now if you put it more, what...
But you're almost taking the...
Okay. The only thing, I have to disagree, the only thing disastrous about it is that it is once again a cess. All right, you have to start sharing some of this with the states, which are at the front line of dealing with the pandemic. Otherwise, go ahead, make this stuff more expensive. We have to fight climate change.
You may like it.
He's being sarcastic.
No,
in case
I'm
you meet the,
I am not.
No, 1 second. We already have petrol and diesel at historic levels. And you've now gone and increased petrol prices by 2.5 rupees and diesel prices by 4 rupees straight away. Let Mr. Garg explain why he thinks it's disastrous.
See, today about 40% of the diesel price is of the cess already. If you raise it further, now it was being argued earlier by Ajay very well. Today we are arguing in the context of farm bills that the middlemen need to be sort of eliminated into the equation because they take more profits. Now the biggest part of the cost is coming from the transportation cost and all, and this is being increased by the government. So this will create cost push inflation in the economy. This is absolutely unfair. The economy has to be on the move.
It's supposedly for a farm cess. How do you see this being used?
I'll just take 2 points. First was your question on growth. Maximum growth does not come from infrastructure. It comes from agriculture research and development. That gets you maximum growth. There's nothing on agriculture research and development in this budget announcement. It could be in the fine print. But if you look at the budgets of the last many years, 7-8 years, you will see that the agriculture research and education, it's been 0.25% of GVA of agriculture and allied activities, while world over in the developed world, it is 2.5%. So if you don't spend on agriculture research and development, you're not going to get growth. That's one. Coming back to diesel, if you look at PM Kisan, already a 5-acre farmer is getting benefits of PM Kisan of 6,000 rupees, and he is already paying 6,000 rupees on use of diesel for his farming operation. So when you increase the tax on diesel, he actually loses out on the value that he is getting from government benefits. And I think, and this can be calculated by economists, that around 20% of the food inflation is coming from diesel cost. Now, if you keep increasing diesel cost, price of food keeps going up. International commodity,
even for farmers, it's a bad idea.
So it's a bad idea because international commodity prices are going up. Crude oil prices are going up. We expect a bad monsoon this year. There will be pressure to keep farm gate prices low,
at
and
some
government
level,
will do
as
that.
a member of the big Indian middle class, I feel cheated. It's almost as if no one takes us seriously. I mean, if this was BJP in opposition and the Congress in government, they would have been out in the streets. Well, Rahul Gandhi will likely take off for Italy again, and nobody will be there to raise the issue of how petrol and diesel prices keep going up.
The great Indian middle class is tremendously undertaxed. You guys have it so good. All right, just sit back and be happy. Everybody else is paying the taxes that keeps us happy. All right, we are relatively undertaxed as an upper class.
He's been reading too much Piketty. No, I don't know what he's saying.
Are indeed. If you look at international comparison, at this point, and Mr. Garg can correct me, from 15 lakhs is at what proportion of 15 lakhs a year is what decile of the Indian income distribution?
See, by the way, in India, the middle class pays the tax.
Everyone pays the tax because we have an indirect tax system.
Okay, here's something that I was told by a former RBI governor. He said the administration, how it functions, is that they dare not tax the rich and they do not feel like taxing the poor. So they tax themselves.
This is really unfair. I mean, it is true that the government needed to raise more revenue and that there is no question about it. But this is just
but a larger question, Rahul, is what Mr. Garg said, the absorbability of a particular commodity to be taxed is being taxed beyond, it's being pushed to the limit. I think the idea that, if you nomenclature it as a cess for agriculture, it will be saleable, is something that sort of, militant.
No, but cess for agriculture for what? Then please tell me, how will you spend it? So, okay, so you're charging me 2.5 rupees per litre whenever I get gas filled. How do you intend to use this, Mr. Garg? I need to know very clearly because you're expecting me to pay
But that's
this
a
money.
question you should be asking of all of the 34 lakh crores. You know, where is...
FCI is
FCI.
no longer getting money from the small savings fund, so this is
Basically
probably where they're
FCI.
feeling
You
it.
pay higher food subsidy. Probably that is what it might
So
be
we've
used.
just heard on defense, since there was so much chatter around defense budgets, that if you leave pensions aside, the Ministry of Defence's allocation this year is pegged at 3,62,345 crore rupees. Last year it was 3.37 lakh crore. So it's less than
that's routine
30,000
increase.
crore rupees increase. That's
The
a very,
interesting
very
thing is that from last year to this year, the total increase overall is just 8,000 crore, from 471 to 479.
But Rahul, if you're going to spend all your defense money on Atmanirbharta, then you may not need to increase your budget for many years. You just keep waiting for things to happen. I mean, you can't run defense on the basis of Atmanirbharta. It's a great principle. The entire economy should be Atmanirbhar. But defense is something that you need here and now, not day after tomorrow.
No,
But
which
where's
is
the
all
money?
true even ordinarily, but especially when in the middle of a raging border dispute with China, which requires very serious deployment on the ground, requires you to increase your weapon purchase capacity, and there is absolutely no doubt about it.
Yeah.
The only rationale, if at all there is one, could be, Mr. Garg, that the finance minister says that as and when the weapon procurement process requires that money be made available, it will be made available, which is most likely what the finance minister will say when we question her about why the increase is as little as it is.
No, the standard reply, Mr. Garg must have
might
replied this also, that
might
we'll make
also
provision.
be- This might also be because of the fact that the procurement of the defense equipment might not have actually been started or concluded. So you don't need money to pay for.
Yeah.
And if that is the
So this is
well,
elbow
then
room
there is
economics.
there is a
But then that
problem.
Okay, I've just received information from the Prime Minister's office, which is important. It says that after the imposition of the Agriculture, Infrastructure and Development Cess, AIDC, on petrol and diesel, the basic excise duty, the BED, the basic excise duty and special additional excise duty rates have been reduced on them so that the overall consumer does not bear any additional burden. So we just take back
So it
all
stays
the
the same.
punditry over the last 5 minutes and
Stays
just
the
leave that
same.
aside. You know, as the speaker would say, please expunge all our comments and all our frustration over the last 5 minutes.
So you should say that again. I mean, read that again. What-
Okay, so I'll just try and explain to you basically that the additional farm cess that's been leveled, so they've taken back the basic excise duty and the special additional excise duty rates have been reduced so that the overall consumer does not bear any additional burden.
Again means that if this would not be shared
They
with
won't
the
share it with the states.
with the states. So this 3.5
See, that's why it's important to have a former finance secretary in your panel. He catches this really quickly. Yes,
So that is what it means, that if you're converting the basic excise duty
that is so smart.
into
Yeah,
the
you
cess,
caught on to it in a second.
So don't-
So next year, sir, I'm booking you for the budget right away. Please go nowhere. It's very important to have you with us. For a perspective about India.